When you're training for a spring marathon, the winter long run might just be the most important session of your entire build. It's cold, it's dark, and motivation can drop fast, but this is the phase where your aerobic engine is built, your endurance is shaped, and your marathon confidence really begins. What you do in the winter determines how fast, strong, and well prepared you feel on the start line in April. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why these winter long runs matter so much and how to make the most of them. Now, what I'm going to share today applies to all abilities of runner. I hope you guys can take at least one thing away from this video, and for more experienced runners who have run multiple marathons, it'd be great to hear your thoughts in the comments below once I've shared the 6 things that I'm going to talk about today. What would you add to this list? Please do make sure as we go through the video to drop a comment down below. It'd be great to hear what you'd add to this list. So let's get stuck in. So the first thing is winter is when you build your aerobic engine. The long run is the biggest driver of aerobic development, arguably. Low intensity, consistent volume in the winter builds the foundation that you're going to rely on in March or April, and most of your marathon fitness comes from this early aerobic base phase, not the late sharpening block. This is something I've really honed in on over the last couple of marathon blocks. I've really put a big emphasis on what I've done before I get into my final phase of marathon training, and actually last year is where I neglected that, and it really showed in the final 8 weeks. Even though it went well, I rushed everything and it was a really unpleasant experience, whereas where I've prepared and got myself ready to lay down that final 8 weeks of marathon training, I felt so much better, and it's gone so much better as well. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is we think when we start to get into those big marathon workouts or those runs where we really think it's going to make or break our marathon, yes, they're fantastic, and yes, we need them for our fitness, and yes, they're all part of that development process as we build towards race day, but actually it's all the work that we do before that. It's the years of work that we put in. Whether you're a first-time marathoner or you're a 10-time marathoner or a 50-time marathoner, it's all the work that you've done before. So if you're a first-time marathoner, think of all the work you've done to build up to this point, and if you're a regular marathon runner, think of all those marathon training blocks you've done in the past. Think about the consistency you've put into them. That is what makes the foundation that you're going to need to layer on the sharpening section at the end. It's not that bit that really makes a marathon, although it can make the difference between being in peak fitness or not, but the main thing is to get yourself into really good aerobic shape so that you can cover the distance well. Number 2, you build durability, potentially the most underrated marathon skill. Durability is your body's ability to handle the long periods of load without breaking down. It strengthens your tendons, ligaments, something that takes months, not weeks. Winter is the only time to develop this, or summer if you're going into an autumn marathon. And again, just as I highlighted before, it is the weeks and months and years of training that builds up that resilience. So we hear a lot of people break down in the second half of the marathon, especially newer runners. That was me as well back in the day. And again, something you can combat that, which does take time and patience, is to build up that resilience, as I've just mentioned. If you get your body used to being out there time on feet for a long period of time, because we can't get around it, we're going to be out on that course for a long period of time. That's going to go a long way to help your muscles stay strong and not fatigue as much. Some of us cramp due to a lack of electrolytes and dehydration and all of that stuff, but there is another side of things where people's bodies literally just break down and just can't handle it. The fatigue gets too much, and so we do start cramping and locking up. And again, this comes from building up that resilience over time. You have to think right now as we approach December, we've got December and January before we're even 12 weeks out from a lot of everyone's goal marathon races in April. This is the time to really lock in. Number 3, winter long runs make spring training easier. If you do the long runs now, your spring workload feels much more manageable instead of overwhelming. You can handle that marathon pace work, higher mileage, bigger sessions, because you already have the foundation. This was never more apparent for me than in my previous block, where I did a big summer of mileage, got myself really well prepared so that when I did that first marathon specific long run 8 weeks out, it did not feel like this huge mountain to climb. All it felt like was another long run with a little bit more intensity in there. It didn't feel like my body was going to break down. It felt absolutely fine. And that foundation set me up super strong all the way through this recent training block, to the point where even when I tapered 2 weeks out and did my normal taper, I got to the Wednesday, 10 days after starting the taper, and was ready to race. I felt like this is the time I need to race, and it was agonizing to wait another 3 or 4 days. I just felt like I was losing fitness at that point. Now, I know I wasn't, however, mentally, because I had built such a good foundation in the summer and got the training done in those 8 weeks, it really didn't affect me as much as it ever has done in previous times. And that just meant that I was just much fresher throughout the whole training block, never too fatigued. There were 1 or 2 periods where it got a little bit tough, but otherwise it was probably the easiest training block I'd done. And again, as I said, that led to a really smooth taper and an irritable taper as well. I was definitely ready to race way sooner. But again, that all comes from doing the work in the summer, and for us right now, doing the work in the winter, ready for February. Number 4, consistency beats intensity in this phase. Winter is not about flashy workouts, it's about stacking consistent long runs. Missing long runs now is far more costly than missing one later in training. And I missed one of my key long run workouts in the build up to my recent one, and it didn't make a difference. I still managed to PB. And again, this is all down to the fitness that I built up. I'll keep going back to it. Right now, it's far more important for you to not be worrying about getting anything really intense done, but more a case of getting out there for some relaxed, low intensity long runs with a little bit of injection of something in there, but never really pushing things too hard. If you set yourself up nicely now, you're going to be in a great position. Great example, I think a lot of people finish their autumn marathons and then we down tools a bit, we have a bit of time off, we start to get our routine again, and then we go, oh gosh, I've got 16 weeks until whatever marathon I'm training for, so let's start now. But before that, you've only been ticking over with really low miles compared to what you were doing before, so then it is such a big shock when you kick back into a specific training block. Whereas if you're consistent over this period of time, when you do get to the point where you start your training plan leading up to your marathon, it's just going to feel like you're flowing from one section into the other, unbroken, seamless. It's going to feel really, really good. So just think about getting out there at the moment, getting that good time on feet and bridging that gap between now and when you start your marathon. Number 5, learn to fuel and hydrate early, not at the last minute. Winter long runs are the perfect time to practice gels, fluid timing, gut training, all of that stuff. Your spring marathon shouldn't be the first time trying your nutrition plan, nor should it really be in the final 8 weeks of training as well. I've got to say, there are plenty of videos out there now where people are making their own gels. Gels are costly. If you can afford them, great. If you can't, there are very affordable ways of doing it. Training your gut now is so important. This is a journey that I've been on, and you guys, for regular viewers, are probably sick of me talking about this, but it's a journey that I've been on over the last few marathons. This is something that has hindered my performances so much, but I'm finally, slowly starting to crack it by training my gut, taking on more fuel and giving my body what it needs during race day. If we're not going around there just to run a marathon and we're going to try and race it to the best of our ability, then we need to fuel. You still need fuel if you're going to run it, but if you're casually running it and you're not putting as much intensity in there, it's a little bit less important than if you're trying to race it for a time. You need your body to be performing optimally from start to finish for as long as you possibly can, and now is the time to train it. So if in your previous marathon you took on 60 grams of carbs and you didn't feel it was enough and you faded in that second half, or you took on less, you know that you need to increase that number. So now is the time to train it. There are plenty of gels out there with 25 grams in them, 30 grams in them, 40 grams in them. You can start to try new gels, mix and match, try and make your own and get more carbs in per hour and practice it on your long runs. Get that gut ready so that when you start to introduce marathon specific workouts later next year, ready for your race, your gut is ready to handle the gels as you're going at a higher intensity. Practice it now at lower intensity, get the stomach used to it, start putting them in when you're injecting a bit of pace, and then when you get to the marathon specific phase, your stomach will be able to handle it. And finally, number 6, long runs improve running economy over time. Repeated long runs subtly improve your efficiency, smoother stride, better cadence, lower heart rate for the same pace, and that for me is key. These gains accumulate slowly, another reason why winter matters. That whole concept, the one thing that I get really grateful for is when I'm ticking along at maybe a steady effort, I look at the pace and I think, gosh, I'd have dreamed of this pace maybe a year or two ago. For this heart rate, it feels so good. And that's another reason why stacking these winters up makes all the difference. If you do this now, then when you come to those fast marathon workouts in February and March, you're going to be looking at your paces thinking, wow, I was nowhere near this in my last marathon training block. And that's all because you have raised your baseline. So when I say that, effectively what I mean is your easy runs and your steady runs. Everything is just gently lifted up because the effort that you're putting in that you would have done in the previous block is now faster, but for the same heart rate or the same effort level. And it's a wonderful feeling. Honestly, that's one of the main things for me that gets me more excited than racing PRs or anything like that, is just being able to tick over at a really good pace for a really low heart rate. It's just one of those moments where it feels like the fitness and the work that you put in year round is worth it. And again, when it comes to the marathon training block, if you have a really solid base and a solid foundation, as we've talked about throughout this video, and everything is just slightly bumped up and that heart rate is nice and low for a faster pace, when you do get into that specific phase, you are going to fly. So is it if you've had a bit of time off after your recent marathon? That's fantastic. So you should. I had a bit of time off, gently built back up, and now I'm back into full training. Establish a long run through December. Try and get to a point where you now have a dedicated run of the week that is back to being a long run rather than just getting out the door and ticking over certain runs a week. Do make a point that one of them is slightly longer than all the rest, and then that is something to build on. If you're already there like myself, then really start to just gently stretch them out a little bit more so that when you do come to that first phase where you are doing some longer long runs, it's not going to be a huge jump from what you're doing now to when you get into that specific area. For me, I was doing 1 hour 45 long runs back to back all the time, and then my first marathon specific one 8 weeks out was 2 hours, so I literally just ran 15 more minutes. I did notice it, but it didn't break me. It felt absolutely fine and it felt like a natural progression, and that's what I'm aiming for now. I'm already at in and around 1 hour 45. I'm just hovering around there, 1 hour 50, and I'm going to stay there throughout December, move into January, get a little bit closer to 2 hours so that when I do get to that first marathon specific workout, it's just going to feel second nature, exactly as I did in the summer. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, especially those people that are seasoned marathon runners. As I mentioned in the intro, hopefully you've had a listen to all the points I've made, and if you've got anything you want to add, please do drop a comment below. And of course, if you have any questions, please also do drop a comment. I hope to get back to all of you down in the comments section. I hope you found this one useful, guys. If you did and you want to know a little bit more about the long run, then what I'll do is I'll make sure I leave a link just here to another long run video I've done talking about the importance of it and some of the benefits that you guys will get in your general fitness from doing the long runs, and I'll see you guys over there.